This short video will guide you through an outline that I created for the thematic team in relations to Chapter 3. The document that I'll show you is titled Thematic Team Chapter 3 Outline, but I'm going to first show you where this document originated from, and that's the Dissertation Handbook. So if you go to the Dissertation Handbook and you scroll down to page 2, there's a section on Chapter 3 Methodology. And these are the headings you'll use for your Chapter 3. So typically these are level 1 headings. So there's level 1 heading overview, level 1 heading purpose statement, level 1 heading research question, and such. To get information on how to write these subsequent sections, you actually scroll down. It starts on page 17. So if you go to the Dissertation Handbook and you scroll down to page 17, where Chapter 3 begins, it gives you an overview, and then it actually tells you how to write each of these sections. So overview, purpose statement, research question, research design, population, etc. And again, that's all based on this original outline that's located on page 2 of your Dissertation Handbook. The thematic team Chapter 3 template that I created looks something like this. So you can see it still has the original elements of the Chapter 3 outline. I've given a little bit of additional language where necessary on how to write these sections. So research design. For our team, we talked about 3 methods, and one emerged as the most appropriate method for this study. First, we talked about grounded theory, second, ethnography, and third, phenomenological study. And the phenomenological study emerged as the most appropriate study because we're looking at exemplar leaders. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background information on how to write the research design section as it relates to our thematic dissertations. What I also did was asked Karen and Darren to highlight a few of the things that they wrote in their research design section, and we used track changes. So you can see it's in italic, okay? And if you click on it, it actually expands, and it says Karen wrote that in her research design section, and Darren wrote that, and there's some more language from Karen. So just a little bit of calibration on how you should write these separate sections. If you wanted to see what other people wrote on the greater team, you can click on the call out bubble here. And then as we go on, next section is population. And we'd like for you to have a subsection. This would be a level 2 heading on target population, a section on sample. And then, for example, for instrumentation, which is a level 1 heading, we have 2 level 2 headings, and we need some alignment with all the teams on. The first is the researcher as an instrument of the study. We talked about that before. So please have these exact words as your level 2 heading under the level 1 heading instrumentation. Then the 6 domains of conflict transformation, we're going to use that as a framework for coding. So please write about that as an instrument for the study. But please include the 6 domains of conflict transformation as a level 2 heading under the level 1 heading instrumentation. Next, for validity, validity is a level 1 heading. And so under validity, you should have 3 level 2 headings: criterion validity. This is where the team identified what are the qualifications for an exemplar leader. Okay, really focus on this idea that the team work together to validate that these are the proper criterion for identifying exemplar leaders. You have content validity. Okay, here the content validity refers to the team working together on the interview questions to make sure that those are valid. And again, if you wanted to get an idea of what your team members wrote, you can click on like content validity on the right, criterion validity, and it'll show you what Karen and Darren wrote in their dissertations. And that'll again help you calibrate as to what you should write in your respective dissertations. Pilot interviews, we're going to put that under validity because an expert will validate and underscore the word validate as it relates to the word validity. Validate your pilot interviews to give you feedback on what you're doing, how you're doing it, but you need to explain how you're identifying the expert that you're using in your study. Reliability, which is different than validity, is typically broken up into the following three sections. Internal reliability of data. How reliable is the data that you are gathering? Okay. And so we talk about triangulation here for internal reliability. If data comes from multiple sources, you're able to triangulate it. Okay. And therefore, if the data appears in multiple sources, it tends to be more reliable than if it just came from one source. External reliability talks about how the data can be generalizable. If you were to replicate the study, you would yield the same results. And so although the procedures of your study can be replicable, notice what I wrote here, you won't likely yield the same exact results. Okay, so talk about how external reliability is about generalizability of your findings, and although the procedures are replicable, the results may not be the same. We also talk about intercoder reliability, and you have a handout for that. So I would encourage you to refer to the handout and write about intercoder reliability. For data collection, you have types of data. Okay, there are three types of data: interviews, observations, and examination of artifacts. And what I would like for you to do here is talk about nothing more than the different types of data. Then in the next level 2 heading, you have data collection procedures, which is how are you going to gather the data for your study. Okay, and here you need to be rather detailed in your explanation, because you want to allow others to replicate your study. So in the K-12 education sense, this would be like a substitute teacher's lesson plan, right? So you're going to coach somebody else on how to replicate your study. What do they need to do? And usually this is, these are things like the time frame of your study. Maybe it's a 30-minute interview. Maybe it's a 45-minute interview. It's also things like, let's see here, your informed consent. How are you going to get the respondents to sign your informed consent paperwork? As well as how are you going to explain to them the benefits of your study? Okay. So types of data and data collection procedures are level 2 headings under the level 1 heading, data collection. You could have level 3 headings here. I'll leave the organization of that up to you. But I think in my mind it's logical to have level 3 headings under those level 2 headings, because your procedures for observation are going to be different than your procedures for your interviews. Okay. You also have data analysis. Okay, go through the steps for coding and using the 6 domains. And for data analysis, oftentimes students jump right to data analysis. But for qualitative research, remember back in your 754, 755 class, the first thing is actually to code your data. And coding your data is this idea of coming up with themes that emerge from the data. Okay, so if you can identify the themes, then you're able to analyze the themes. And so the analysis really comes in after the coding process. And although you haven't done this yet, and you won't do it till much later, you need to explain that this data analysis part for qualitative research is actually a two-step process. First, code the data, then analyze the data. Next, you have limitations, and we've identified a few, but these are going to be slightly different for all of you. So time could be a limitation. Researcher as the instrument of the study uh, should be a part of everyone's. And that's always a criticism of qualitative research. We talked about that in 754. However, if you can strengthen that by talking about how you're going to limit your bias in your study, okay? Sample size is likely a limitation, geography is likely a limitation, and you might consider other limitations for your study. And then wrapping that up with summary as another level heading. That's a level 1 heading. Okay, I want to just take a few minutes to talk about leveled headings. And I'm going to do this side by side with the two documents. So you have your dissertation handbook. And notice overview here would be a level 1 heading. And overview on the right-hand side on this working document that I'm providing for you is a level 1 heading. But as you get down to these other sections like instrumentation in the dissertation handbook is a level 1 heading. But just to keep us organized, let's create the same level 2 headings as I provided for you here. And what that means is wherever it is you wrote about some of these things in your current chapter 3, it may just be as simple as copying and pasting under these level 2 headings. In other situations, you may need to do a little bit more writing to have it flow better. But really, these level 2 headings, and in some cases level 3 headings down here under data collection procedures, is nothing more than a matter of copying and pasting into these headings to keep our teams consistent with what chapter 3 looks like. Okay. If you have any questions, please do follow up with me in an email, and we can even set up a time to talk on the phone. But I will send you the dissertation handbook as well as this thematic team chapter 3 outline, which also has some commentary from dissertations that are in progress. Hoping that helps. Thanks.